you've got that quartet at the moment, which is Tank, Haney, Kambosos, and Garcia, and I think you're going to see those fights happen before Lomachenko gets in that mix. However, I believe that Bob's trying to make it mandatory with the WBO, which ultimately will mean he'll get his shot at some point. But I think the undisputed fight will take place first between Devin Haney and Kambosos, and I have no doubts that Kambosos or Devin Haney would both fight Lomachenko. But the undisputed fight should always take preference, and hopefully we get that made next.
He should understand. Teofimo is lost. Lomachenko is lost. Ryan Garcia, he's not anywhere to be found right now, right? But God bless him and his family during these times. But the only fight is George Kambosos and Devin Haney. So what would make anyone else say anything less? Devin is the longest reigning champion in the division, right? You see new faces and all that, but Devin has been holding his belt, and he done defended it 4 times. Linares is still in the top 10, and Jojo Diaz was the top 5. Linares is still in the top 10. When we fought him, he was in the top 10, and he's still in the top 10. And Jojo Diaz was in the top 5, and that's in the 35-pound division. With Gamboa fought Tank for 12 rounds. Then Devin, completely outclassed Gamboa for 12 rounds and didn't get hit with nothing.
You mentioned Lomachenko coming off a loss. Obviously, he the mandatory. So Eddie Hearn said Lomachenko is not in the quartet with Tank, Haney, Kambosos, and Ryan Garcia. Do you agree with his statements since, like you pointed out, he lost to Teo?
Well, when we talk about the 4 young fighters that haven't lost, we talk about finding ways to win, right? You saw with Teofimo, with Lomachenko. You've seen Orlando Salido beat him, right? No matter what happens with Lomachenko, you'll say that he's already been beat. With these other fighters, you still hear that Ryan Garcia has a puncher's chance with anybody, right? They say what his left hook will do and what his speed will do and how he'll get up from adversity. You have Tank Davis, who's dynamite in both hands, who's never lost, right? You talk about Kambosos, who's gotten up off the canvas to still win a fight. And then you talk about Devin Haney, who hasn't been touched in boxing, who's had a big shot but never went down as well, right? Who's had a big shot and never went down and still managed to win. So that's what all 4 of those guys have in common, is that they're young and they still have their O's. So that's where I consider that to be the 4 quartet that Eddie Hearn speaks about.
And Kambosos said he the emperor, so he coming after the 4 kings. So we'll see if he comes after Devin Haney, who's on top of the class at the lightweight division. I want to touch on something you brought up earlier.
You can't be one person and then say that you're the emperor. You know what I mean? The emperor is someone that ran through the division, right? Similar to what Josh Taylor did at 140. It's different when you fought everybody, and having all the belts will represent a good part of you being, you know what I mean, considered an emperor.
Just a couple super chats before we move on. Much love to Bill and Devin. Get rid of Loma too. By the way, where can I order the sweater? They say everything but fight. And that's what it initially comes down to, is that they say everything but let's fight. Kambosos is playing from the TO playback, talking way too much and backtracking. A man is only as good as his word. He gave Devin his word to fight.
What Lomachenko's team and Igis Klimas, all the faceless representatives of the Ukraine, have done for Lomachenko is tremendous. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Is not only did he become a gold medalist, right, to come and fight for a world title like in your first or your second fight, right, then to lose and come back and fight again for a title, right, is amazing.
The irony of it all is that Lomachenko fought for a world title in his second fight. He lost, broke the rule, because the WBO has a rule that says you can't fight for a world title coming off a loss, but he fought for the vacant world title against Gary Russell once Salido moved up in weight. But he had the audacity to question Devin Haney's position when Devin Haney fought his way to the mandatory position. When he got stripped of the WBC title, Lomachenko said, "Why are you my mandatory?"
Excuse me, sir. One other last thing is that Lomachenko has the kind of team that will petition to another organization for them to fight for that world title and just jump the line. So they strategically petitioned to fight Luke Campbell instead of letting Devin fight Luke Campbell to establish the lightweight championship, right? Because it was a tournament for
It was
Devin.
a vacant title.
It was a tournament to fight for Luke Campbell for the vacant title. Teofimo was in the tournament, Devin was in the tournament, Javier Fortuna was in the tournament, and Zaur Abdullaev was in the tournament. Javier Fortuna and Teofimo Lopez left out the tournament. Devin fought Zaur Abdullaev, won, right? And then got elevated to the world title because Luke Campbell then agreed with the petition for Lomachenko and them to fight. Instead of not agreeing and saying that he should fight Devin Haney for the vacant belt, he agreed and said he wanted to fight Lomachenko. So Lomachenko beat him. Then Lomachenko's team was smart enough. They did that. Then smart enough that when Devin is the interim champion getting his belt and Lomachenko is getting his belt at the convention, Lomachenko is then petitions to become a franchise champion, right? Which means that you get stripped of your world title, right? Your world title, you get stripped of. That's not yours anymore. And then Devin gets elevated to the title. Lomachenko then says that he doesn't know what's going on. And he's in Mexico on the stage with the video. And then that's what Mauricio says, what do you mean? You're on the stage and you're getting it. And on the belt, it says franchise. So then they go to the fight, and I watch the fight with ESPN and Teo, and then I see another belt. So then it's two belts, and then one with franchise, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, so you win two belts. Where did the two belts come from? Where does two belts come from? And then Kambosos ran it. But you've never seen Lomachenko with two belts. He's always had one. So if you got two and you just lost to Teofimo and Teofimo lost to Kambosos, Lomachenko, what belt are you talking about? He said, Devin got your belt. So what would that be, 3 belts?
Lomachenko already said Devin Haney has the real WBC belt, but the shocking part is that Lomachenko, he was a unified champion. He had 2 belts when he requested to fight Luke Campbell for a vacant belt. I mean, it's shocking to see a 2-time world champion fight for a vacant belt when it should have been Devin Haney fighting Luke Campbell for that belt. But he was granted the petition. Under the rule, he has to fight the mandatory within 6 months time span. When you fight for a vacant title, the rules say you have to defend your title against your mandatory within 6 months. That's why Canelo Alvarez fought Avni Yildirim, right? But when Lomachenko won the title, as soon as Devin Haney became his mandatory, he obviously got stripped of the belt because he didn't want to fight Devin Haney.
So they say that unifications trump everything. So if Kambosos and Devin is for unification, then why are we talking about Lomachenko? He has no belt now. He has nothing.
Exactly. But for Lomachenko case back in the day, he had fought for a vacant title. And that's the key difference. When you fight for a vacant title, you have to defend your title against your mandatory within 6 months.
Absolutely.
That's why he had to fight Devin Haney within 6 months. But he elected to get stripped of the title and wait a whole year to fight Teofimo Lopez for unification after he gave up his title. So he couldn't be undisputed.
Soon as you petition, he petitioned and got stripped of the WBC world title and then became a super mandatory, right? And Teofimo said the same thing. Teofimo Sr., he had said the same thing. He said, that's a way to not fight the fighter that's the world champion.
Well, we already know Lomachenko got the connection because he fought for a world title with only 1 fight on his record. But he had the audacity to question Devin Haney when he became his mandatory. When Devin had 20 fights. Devin had 20 plus fights. And he had the audacity to question Devin Haney, who fought his way to the mandatory position, when Loma fought for a title with only 1 fight. Remember when he was questioning Devin Haney's position? It tells the whole story. He never wanted to fight Devin Haney. That's why he turned down 2 opportunities to fight Devin Haney. When Devin Haney was his mandatory and when Devin Haney was a champion before he fought Linares.
Well, I know that he has nothing to gain. When you talk about beating Lomachenko, well, Teofimo just beat him. And then you beat Teofimo. So what's going on? It makes no sense to me. Right? We've been getting to the bag for quite some time. Alhamdulillah. And even more, mashallah, that we've been blessed enough to get to the bag, right? But I take more pride, and I'm more happy to say that we also provide the biggest bags to our opponents, right? Everyone that fights Devin gets historically more money than what the market called for, and if not, more than what they've ever gotten paid. And JoJo's Diaz is a testament to it, and the Diaz family, who raised their hand and came to Las Vegas, right, and gave it all that they got. We appreciate them. We appreciate the Jorge Linares of the world, who also raised his hand and gave him an opportunity, and also Yuriorkis Gamboa. When you talk about those three guys, you talk about three former world champions and three guys that's going to get in there with the young guy and push all that pride to the side, take on the chance and an opportunity to upstage him. George Kambosos has everything on the table for every reason to make Devin his next fight. I would suggest that he be diligent both in the gym and both outside the ring with the business, both him and his dad. Be diligent about making it happen and not let any outside things influence or happen on the business side that should.
You're saying that I had the belt. So which one is it? Make up your mind. He know he gave me his belt. He know behind closed doors that he gave me that belt. When nobody was there, we met up and he said, "Hey, Devin." Look at all. Hey, Devin. Oh, you can have it, you.
Well, that's the crazy part. They petitioned not to fight Devin Haney, but Devin Haney always petitioned to fight. You petitioned to fight Lomachenko. You didn't ask for the title. You petitioned to fight who was at the time, pound for pound, Lomachenko. So that's why you ended up with his title. He gave up the belt just like Riddick Bowe gave up his belt to Lennox Lewis. So in a way, you won the title the same way Lennox Lewis did. He was the last undisputed champion. So what's your thoughts on old media painting the narrative and all these fighters trying to dismiss you as the real WBC champion when facts say you are?
I mean, like I said, numbers don't lie. The fighters, it seems like the fighters who saying it is the fighters that don't want to fight me. You know what I'm saying? If I was such an easy fight and I was this and I was that, well, Linares would have beat me. Gamboa would have beat me. These fighters would want to fight me because I'm food, right?
Do you believe at 20 years old you're ready for that type of challenge?
I think you said his name wrong. It's Lomachenko because he doesn't want to fight me. But it's I feel like I'm ready for the fight. This is the WBC mandatory. So Lomachenko, come on, man, let's get this fight going.
A lot of guys have said they want Lomachenko. You're the next on that list.
Lomachenko.
My mistake.
How did you choose Lomachenko? Because
I did not choose him. He requested, Canelo requested. So we sent out a vote and we analyzed his history.
Ooh, Canelo and Lomachenko requested?
Absolutely.
Ooh, you just made headlines.
Lomachenko.
You just made headlines.
Lomachenko, top rank, requested. And let me tell you, we analyzed the request. Top of the top.
Define the franchise belt. Can you define it?
The franchise is not a belt. It's not a championship. It's a designation given